as the project is part of the Northwestern Interconnector System, which is a much smaller system than the NEM, there's some concerns around the stability and impacts of a solar PV system and the stability on that system. So one of the requirements of Horizon Power is that for 1 megawatt AC, which is the size of the project, they were asking for 1 megawatt batteries, so that if a cloud came over and the system dropped away, that the battery would, jump in and provide the support, because they were concerned about the reliability on the local system. That's obviously a very big ask and makes for, sort of undermines the cost competitiveness of doing solar PV projects in some of these remote regions. So this project was really set up to have a look at, could we do it another way, where there's some other technologies that would assist in reducing the level of battery required and still meet the stability requirements of the network service provider. So at Karratha, instead of installing a 1 megawatt battery, we've actually installed 468 kilowatts of battery, which is about 47% of their requirement. And we also installed a cloud prediction technology system. And funding for this, as I mentioned, was provided by ARENA as part of their Regional Australian Renewables program. So what was designed up at the Karratha system and what we've got in place is that the cloud prediction system, which is essentially a lens that looks up at the sky. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept. It basically looks up at the sky and sees clouds coming. The system then projects how long it thinks it's going to take for that cloud to hit the system. And then based on that, it basically tells the PV system to start ramping down before the cloud hits. And then the battery support comes in to provide that extra power, so that when the cloud does hit, the site's already ramped down, and that you're not having such a direct impact on the network and its stability. So I suppose the main lessons learnt out of this, and I think it's a really good finding from the project, is that at Karratha we only have 47% of the capacity, so a lot less than what the Horizon Power requirements were. But we're meeting the smoothing requirements just from the battery, so if we take the cloud prediction out of it, 99.9% of the time, meaning that the project is not compromising the local grid, which I think is a fantastic finding for future projects that people want to go into remote areas and smaller grids. So it's really demonstrated that your battery sizing can be a lot less than originally thought and still maintain that stability. As I've said earlier in the presentation, the cloud prediction technology is only really operating when above the battery capacity, so greater than 778 kilowatts. And really the next step is to look at potentially separating the systems, so having the cloud prediction technology talk to the PV inverters directly and the grid stability system to operate separately. This would allow potentially allow the systems to ramp down more quickly and be more sort of reactive to needs of the system. So that's, I think it's really important to manage that from a curtailment impact, because changes to the cloud prediction technology system do impact on the curtailment of the solar farm. Currently, the curtailment over the first 12 months was less than 1%, which is obviously a good outcome for the investors and the financiers of projects, but given that we've also met the obligations, it's also a good outcome for the network service providers. A couple of other take-homes are utilising the site main meter to collect the data would also be helpful in terms of seeing what's going on, and reducing the number of Modbus requests to the cluster controller also minimises impacts on that. We also found that having the lens cleaned 6 monthly and that combined with rainfall events up in Karratha has been sufficient to manage the debris impacts on the site.